Okay, this is the fourth and final video in my series about solar contributory value. So in the first video, we talked about different income metrics. The second video, we talked about the GRM, and if we're choosing that as a metric, some of the considerations we need to make. And then in the third video, we talked about how to link that to the market and how to understand if you have a market preference or market resistance and what that preference or resistance is relative to. And in this video, we're going to bring in cost and talk about particularly how that's very important in the reconciliation. So the cost approach when we are dealing with solar, we're dealing with the principle of substitution, which in theory, when you're talking about a whole property, sometimes that's more theoretical in nature. Well, maybe I don't really have a choice of going and building this identical house on an identical lot in the same location. With solar, you generally do have that option. You can choose to buy this particular property with solar, or you can buy a competing property down the street that doesn't have solar and you can put solar on that home. So the cost of solar is going to be important as a ceiling to the potential contributory value. And that's going to be important when we're reconciling the different techniques to consider, okay, well, we need to know what the cost is. And that gets to be a challenge. The cost of solar tends to vary widely. There are some intricacies to the solar industry and some sales practices which are not ideal, which sometimes inflate the cost that somebody might have actually paid relative to what they should have paid. This is a fairly frequent occurrence, and it really undermines this amenity. It really, in terms of how it's viewed and people's perception of its value. It really complicates things, but it can be done. So there is a technique that I've come up with to sort of establish a cost approach in a manner that we're used to, and so that's something that I've done, but that's probably more detailed than we're going to need today. But what I did want to do is sort of as a capstone for this whole series, just to show you briefly what it looks like to use the technique that I've come up with, the tool that I've developed that integrates everything that I've talked about in these videos together and sort of solves this problem. So I'm going to show you that now. What you're looking at right now is a solar panel valuation worksheet that I've developed. It is a copywritten technique and workbook that incorporates everything that I've talked about. And so I'm just going to show you briefly what it enables you to do when you have the right information. So I'm just going to do a quick demo of a system, and I'm going to assume that I have inspected a property and I've gathered some information. So there are 20 panels in the system. I noticed that 10 were on the south face of the home and 10 were on the west face of the home. That's important in terms of understanding if they're, well, number one, production capabilities and potential functional losses. And I want to make observations about obstructions. And so for this example, I'm just going to just say, well, I've got a tree that's going to block some of the west-facing panels. but it's really going to be just at the very end of the day. I'm going to make an estimate as to how much. Then I want to note the tilt of my roof. So I'm going to say I've got a 26-degree tilt based on the roof pitch. For this example, I'm not going to deal with adverse curb appeal. I'm going to assume that these were panels that were on the back and side of the house and are not a design and appeal issue. So I've got an estimate then of 7 kilowatts. I'm going to assume these are the 350 watt panels. The owner provided me with paperwork that confirmed, okay, the installation agreement showed that this was a 7 kilowatt system. So I can decide here to deal with now the physical depreciation of the system. So I want to know how old it is. So maybe they just installed this 2 years ago. So I'm going to enter that information. I'm dealing with tax credits, and I'm going to assume that I have done the research and extracted a GRM for non-solar properties in the market at 175, and the land value ratio in this market's 35%. So what you're going to notice is that that information actually developed a cost approach here. And now I'm going to look at the income. I want to have a production estimate, which I can obtain from PV Watts is a site where you can get production estimates from that information. So that production estimate was 10,779 at my current electric rate. That's an opportunity cost rate, which I can talk about another time. And I've integrated already my market data into both approaches. I essentially have used my sales data relative to my my income, just like I talked about in the third video. And essentially, I've been able to reconcile through that substitution an upper limit and lower limit of value, and have a market contributory value of $11,000, because implicit in both of these is all that market research that I've done, which is tied to these numbers right here. So that's how that works. It is quick and fun, actually, to be able to take all of those pieces of information, know how they work together, how the market is treating that, and be able to arrive at a contributory value, which is market supported. It's dealing with actual extracted information from sales data throughout my market, income data, cost savings, and cost approach, cost for a new system, and dealing with that. So so that's how that works. If you would like to dive into that further, if you would like access to that worksheet and training on how to set that up for your market, I've actually done all the math necessary to actually geocode this to your place in the country, at least in the United States, and probably could be done everywhere, but I'm not sure exactly. I have to come back to that one. Right now, let's just say the United States, and I showed a process for building a cost model, and a process for taking sales data and analyzing those, using essentially not just the income approach, but actually the cost too, just the reconciliation between the two as an independent variable in analyzing your sales. So all that is what I teach in my class, Advanced Residential Solar Valuation. If this is something that you're interested in, reach out to me. I would love to teach this. I've taught it to a handful of people here and there up to this point, and would love to get this in the hands of more people. I would love for appraisers to get to the point where instead of seeing solar and rolling their eyes, oh no, I'm going to have to deal with this, or maybe I don't want to deal with this, I'm going to pass on this assignment, something that you actually look forward to. Oh, that's going to be an opportunity for me to employ a technique that I know how to use, I've done the work to, and ideally have this as something that elevates your practice and shows your ability to really do a higher level of analysis than most of your peers. So I hope that these videos have informed you and piqued your interest as to the possibilities that are out there. So thanks for watching.